Hey, welcome back. So today I wanted to share with you a way that you could make potentially millions every week on hopefully your server as well. All the way up until Endwalker launches, because then most people get busy, doing all the quests and new dungeons for a bit before they usually get back to full-time crafting and gathering. So some of these items that I'm about to show you might for now sell quite a bit on hopefully again your server, because they did on ours. As you currently look in the right bottom screen of this video, you see my guild. I know, again, compared to some crafters, especially out there, this is like completely nothing, because you see videos all the time where people have hundreds of millions of gil on their account. Well, again, I'm still not a full-time crafter, specifically myself, but some people still struggle just having a couple million all the time to even buy a house. I have a friend that wants to buy one, and he's still grinding to get that gil. And then hopefully one day he can get one for himself. Now in my last video I had 6.7 million gil, I meant to say. And now it's 13.4 million gil, as you can see for yourself. Now I did this in a couple of days, to be really honest, because I was kind of busy in the last few days and then I didn't really focus on making gil. But if you do this every day, well, you could hopefully have the same result as I did. Again, on the Zodiark server this seems to work really well, and it all depends on the server. That's why I have to put that out there clearly, not to give you any false hopes either at the same time. But what I did was the most simplest thing you can do yourself. So all you need to do first and foremost is have one of your gatherers on level 50, but I suggest you have both of them on level 50. This comes into play a little bit later on in the video. So if you have the miner and botanist, these two, the fisher doesn't really matter for now. If you have these two at level 50, right? Well, then you'll be able to collect at least most of the items I'm about to show you. But the first item I wanted to get into is the suit black dye that you can buy off the market board. But I also saw online you can get it from a bee stripe or something, which I've never done. But you can create this yourself, this dye. But in order to do so, you need to have any of the crafters at least at level 30 to 35ish, I would say. So currently these are my levels, and as you can see real quick, well, my culinarian is level 80, my alchemist 53, goldsmith 54, and the other ones are still fairly low. I know, I'm like super slow on that. It's always a grind to me that I get a little bored of, but at least I did some of them on a higher level by now. But you can use either of these ones and then create a suit black dye. So how do you do that exactly? First go to my culinarian. In my case, I open up the crafting log, and then there is you see these recipes, right? If you look at them, you're like, where's the suit black dye? I don't see it. Well, it's kind of hidden away. On console, on PC, maybe it's easier to grasp, but on console you press the triangle button and you have different options here. At the very bottom you can see an option for others. I click on it and it says dyes. There's the list. It's kind of hidden, as I said. But as you can see, suit black dye. The reason why I point out this one is on our server, I sell this casually at times just for fun, because every hour people are buying this for like crazy. It's kind of silly to me. I don't know why it's so popular compared to any of the other dyes. I experimented with this myself. If I do snow white dye, well, it does sell for a nice price at times, but it's a lot slower. I did Dalamud red dye for a while. It actually was selling for a very high price, but then there was still hardly anyone that actually buys it on any given day. But when you go to the suit black dye on our server, if you look at the sales history, it sells every hour, multiple times. So be sure to check this out on your server as well. So in order to do this, as I said, for especially new players, because veteran players should already know about all of this, but especially the newcomers coming in, they might not really know this. And then I suggest you get one of your crafters to level 30 to 35, because as you can see, the crafting level itself is level 30, so you do need to be around that in order to pull this off. What you need in order to create it, as it says, is grey pigment. And you need the fire cluster and water cluster. Well, you can find these in the world. The fire cluster you can, for example, find in the Realm Reborn area, the Middle Lanosea, if that's how you pronounce that. Well, at least if you just look this up on your own gathering list and or online real quick, you can easily find where you need to be in order to gather these crystals. The grey pigment, well, that's why I'm standing in this area. If I turn to my botanist for this, you can see I could gather items from these trees. Well, if we look at it real quick, here you can see grey pigment. We need this to make soot black dye. So what I did myself was I gathered a couple hundreds of these all at once. And then I crafted the black dye in stacks of 25. That's how I put them on the market board on our server. Or more, or perhaps less. It actually changes around all the time, but you need to have at least a few of them. And then they can sell for, if you're lucky, it might sell you for thousands, or if you're unlucky, maybe a few hundred. But the weird part is, on our server, constantly it sells for a few thousand. If I'm really lucky, it sells for like 10,000 to 15,000 even, for just like 20 of these black dyes. So you would be casually making almost the same amount that you would get for doing your daily duty roulette as one of the adventurers in need. So as you can see right now, it's a healer in need. It gives you 11,000 gil at least. Some on top of that as well usually, but then you can easily make that amount of money also selling the black dye. So that's one of these items that I would suggest you casually start selling all the way until Endwalker launches, and way beyond it probably as well, because again, as I said, look this up on your own server. For some reason people really want that black dye. They don't want anything else, it seems. So that's the first item on this list. Now the other items I suggest you gather. Do this just for fun, especially if you have level 50 gatherers, are these clusters. You have the fire cluster, the ice, wind, earth, lightning, water. Now there are a few in particular that for me have sold really well, and I hope on your server it will be the same. That will be the fire cluster, the wind cluster, and the water cluster. See, high level crafters need these all the time. That's why they keep selling so fast. So if you get like 1,000 of these fire clusters, you can easily sell them for around 70 to 80,000 gil. Now you might think 1,000 sounds like a crazy amount. That must take a very long. Well, actually it doesn't, because I want to remind you of the most casual way to do this. What's the most casual way to get clusters? You go to Mordona. So we teleport there right now. And again, you need to be level 50 because this, what was it? I think it's an unspoiled node or something like that. It's one of these nodes that just spawns randomly at certain times of the day. So if you want to know the specific times from the top of my head, it would be 1 AM, 5 AM and 9 AM for the botanist in this area. So right now the Eorzean time, it's almost midnight, so it would spawn very soon. We would still have to wait, but I'll just fly to the area where they sort of spawn for the botanist during those times. But there will be a special node that spawns that gives you all these clusters. You can gather all of them from that one node. So what you do in order to do it as fast as possible to get to 1,000 is you pop these, at least this one skill, because at level 50 you don't have the other one I use as well. You at least keep using the 12's bounty whenever you see this node spawn in order to collect more clusters than just one in a row. You can get like a couple of them all at once that way. If you're already an end game player or higher gatherer, we're talking about specifically level 74, and then you want to make sure you also use the Giving Land, because as it says in the description of this ability, it can be stacked with the 12's bounty. So if you've never been doing this and you still want to make a bunch of money before Endwalker comes as a gatherer, pop these two skills, the Giving Land and the 12's bounty, but this is for high level gatherers only. Sorry, you can't use it if you're below level 74, so since I've already been level 80 for all this time, ever since Shadowbringers came out, because I do that as fast as I can to start selling the items that are most demand, you can easily get like 150, sometimes even more if you're really lucky, but every time the node spawns you get like over 100 easily. So you do a little math here, it doesn't take very long. So the reason why this is the most casual way of doing it is you simply wait. That's literally what I've been doing. For new players, again, if you're just about, I want to make Gil first, get a home or something, then really do it. Now one of these special nodes can either spawn here where I'm standing or on the other side. So it's gonna spawn right now somewhere. We'll just have to wait for it a few seconds. And then when it does, there it is. It popped up, unspoiled mature tree. And it's a mature one, alright? So let's have a look here. Here you can see it. You see all these clusters? There they are. But as I said, only a few specific ones sell for the most on our server. Now, if you interact with this mature tree, do not click away the menu. I think what happens then is that it vanishes and then you can no longer gather. So you have to finish what you start here. So let's do the wind cluster here. And since I'm level 80, I can use both of these skills in order to increase the amount I would gather. But let's just ram this. Let's get these wind clusters here. 25. 29. 21. 11, 23, 9. There, oh, that was very low though. But now we're sitting at 188 wind clusters. So that's why this is casual. Right now, if I really want to, which I actually do normally, as I said, I just stand still here. For example, I could just stand still here, go onto YouTube on my other monitor, do some other fun stuff in between and wait until it's 5 AM in Eorzean time. The new unspoiled node will spawn. Then I can collect more wind clusters and you would have 1,000 very rapidly. At least in my case because of the skills I have, but yours might take a little longer if you're lower level. But still remember, for what this sells. If you can get a stack of 500, that's fine too. But I found out that 1,000 seems to be more popular, more in demand for people to actually buy it. So you have 1,000 of them and then you look on the market board for what they sell. Even if the asking price is rather low, like 80 gil, right? That's what it's been with ours. It's like, but it keeps hovering between 70 to 100 gil. So if you had 1,000 that you sell for 100 gil, well that is 100k. 100,000 gil you could make with just selling that stuff. And then you keep repeating the process and you'll be a millionaire in no time. Again, that's how it goes on our server. On yours the prices may be lower, but then be smart about it. Since it's so easy to gather this, you can keep doing this yourself regardless if the price is low. Not everyone is willing to put in this work, to put in this effort in order to gather these items and sell them the way we just discussed throughout this video. That is something you should never forget. There might be competition, but ultimately anyone can make gil if they're willing to put in the effort and keep going at it like crazy. So, if I were to keep going at this like crazy myself, all the way up until Endwalker, maybe I'll finally have a much bigger amount of gil. Who knows? It kinda depends. Sometimes I get a little bored of even making gil in this game. But I know it's always in demand for people to know how to do this. So I hope this method and these items can help you out a little bit. The first one for the dice, you have to be in the South Shroud, and then the crystals. Well, you gotta look this up real quick yourself because I didn't really pay attention on the top of my head where I would get the water crystals. But I do know it's very simple, all of it. You can easily collect this. It does take you a bit of work. Always use the 12's bounty in order to speed up your cluster gathering as well. Then go over to Mordona and start collecting the actual clusters that are more for higher level crafting recipes. And these nodes spawn all the time for your botanist and miner in Mordona, so you don't really have to teleport all over the place. That is one other option you have, but it takes more time, and I figured, as I said, to be real honest, I wanted to have the most casual way of pulling this off, which is just standing in Mordona waiting for this node to spawn again in a couple minutes, and then I collect more wind clusters, rinse and repeat all the way until Endwalker, and see how much you've been able to make. If you've been able to make millions with this method, well, let us know in the comment section below. Other than that, if you want to see more Final Fantasy XIV videos on a regular basis, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.